shiur. 1 second. Okay, good evening. I would like to dedicate tonight's shiur. L'ilui nishmat Rivka bat Shena. Ruach Hashem tinechena b'gan Eden. Amen. And also want to wish Avdil Chaim Tovim for Kol Am Yisrael, especially for Gabriel Naomi bat Leah Malka, Elisheva bat Sheva bat Rivka, Mamam Vojni bat Rosette, and also my aunt Yael Leah bat Rosette. Kelna refan elem, refat nefesh refat reguf ורפואה קרובה לבוא. Fine, I am excited about tonight's shiur. It's a similar topic to last year, but I didn't remember that I spoke about last year, so I'm assuming nobody else remembered. Aaron Shalom, and Aaron Yigit Shalom. That was Aaron, if you caught him in the corner of the screen. So we're going to speak about the be'erot of the Dag Yitzchak. Now, just 2 words of questions as an opening for this shiur. What was the name in the Torah given to Be'er Sheva? Be'er Sheva or Be'er Shava?
Sheva.
Be'er Shava. Anybody else?
It's not Sheva for the number of.
Oh, excellent, Be'er Shava. So in fact,
but the name changed. So it was when Avraham returned from Akedat Yitzchak, it's called Be'er Shava. When in the Brit, it's called Be'er Sheva.
Okay, excellent. So, like you said, you're all right. Joe's right, Maor's right, and Gilad, you're also right. But let's talk about a little bit deeper into it. And I'll tell you why I wanted to speak about it. Because in Avraham Avinu, we say, Maseh Avot Siman Labanim. Okay, we're supposed to learn from the study of the book of Bereshit about the sons. About the fathers, and that's supposed to teach us. So Avraham Avinu, there's a few parashot about Avraham Avinu. From Lech Lecha to Vayera Chayesara, it's like 3 parashot, yeah? Yaakov Avinu is also, you got Toldot, Vayetze, Vaishlach, Vayeshev, it goes on, yeah? But Yitzchak, there's like no episodes with Yitzchak. There's only 1 episode with Yitzchak on his own. You know, there's an overlap of Yitzchak and Abraham with Akedah. And there's an overlap of Yitzchak and Yaakov with the Brachot. But the only episode that we find really that's talking about Yitzchak is with Avimelech. And that is the whole digging up of the wells. So in brief, 2 questions we want to address tonight. What was the name? Be'er Sheva or Be'er Shava? And who was the father out of the 3 fathers that did not get his name changed? And why? Which father did not get his name changed?
Yitzchak.
Yitzchak, exactly. Why? Because Avraham what was Avraham?
Without the Avram.
Avraham became Avraham.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was Yaakov?
Yaakov, Israel.
Israel, excellent. So the only one who didn't get his name changed is Yitzchak. The question is why? That's also come up in the shiur. And we're going to explain.
Although, Rabbi, you could argue that Yaakov, his name didn't change. He got another name.
That's true.
See that?
That's true. No name change, but I added another name. Okay. So those are the proven questions. So let's do a quick recap of the story. And maybe we'll look through the psukim. You want to see inside, or I'll just recap outside? What do you want to hear? Up to you.
Inside.
You want to see inside? So you want to do a share screen?
Oh, the portion?
Psukim, yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got it online. Yeah, I can see.
You got it online? Okay.
Yeah, for Chabad, and then you get also Rashi. I've got the Chumash, but
okay, excellent. 1 second. Let's do a screen. Okay. We're gonna do this. This is how I prepare this shiur. This is an amazing program. Can you see my screen?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the original episode starts with Avraham Avinu. So we're gonna have to go. We're now Parashat Toldot, but to understand this parasha, we're gonna start a few parashot earlier in Parashat Vayera, Perek Chaf Aleph, Pasuk Chaf Bet. Is that big enough for you on the screen? Yeah. I'm over here. But yeah. You want to read a little bit? Little bit of Torah.
ויהי בעת ההיא, ויאמר אבימלך ופיכול שר צבאו אל אברהם לאמור, השם עמך בכל אשר אתה עושה.
That means Avimelech said to Abraham, Hashem is with you, I want to be with you. You look like you're doing well. And then he says, Va'ata. Yeah, continue.
ואתה ישבע לי בהשם, הנה אם שקר לי,
Ida yashava li be'elokim. Swear to me in the name of God. Hine im tishaker li ve'lenini. That means if you deprive me, or my child, or my grandchild, כחסד אשר עשית עמך תעשה עמדי, ועם הארץ אשר גדלת בה. והנה אברהם, אנוכי, what's the word? ישבע. Can you see that? Now, very interesting in Hebrew, what's the word for 7?
עבד.
7. What's number 7?
7, sorry, 7.
7. And what's an oath or a swear, to swear, or to...
שבועה, it's like the shoret.
Yeah, so now what's the connection between Shavua and Sheva? Same letters, but is there any connection between them? So that's also going to be speaking about this year, okay? So let's study this parsha with Abraham. Thank you, Mao, you're doing a great job. I'm going to swear to you. He told him off about the wells. They stole him. Now this might seem a bit boring, but we'll get a deeper understanding into it. We're going to maybe pshat and also a little bit of remez, maybe sod as well. I didn't know about it. I didn't know that somebody stole the wells, and I never heard about it, and he never told me either. Okay, it's a little bit long, so I'm gonna skip a little bit and read out for you. What does it mean?
Make an agreement.
They made an agreement, absolutely. That was a pact, that was a contract, that was a commitment of peace. Now this is the interesting part. Normally, when you do a brit in those days, how did you do a covenant? A brit is what you cut, you split. There's two things that you split. So at those times, they used to take an animal, split it in two, and walk in between. And that was to make a siman as a sign that just like this animal was one, we both of us are walking in between it, and we're also going to be one. And here, Avram saw something unusual. He takes 7 sheep. Notice that the word 7. Why does he take 7 sheep? And he keeps them whole. Levadehen means they're on their own. He doesn't split them. Why are you not splitting them? Why are you keeping them whole? You're going to take these 7 sheep. I don't want to argue with you about this well. These sheep are going to testify that I'm the one who dug these wells. And then he says, here's the line, Aken Kra Shemo, Makom Ahu Be'er Shava, like Joe said. Why? What's the words? Why is it called Be'er Shava? Exactly, because that's where they made the oath. That's where they swore. Now, just as a disclaimer about these mysterious sheep, how is the sheep going to testify that Abraham dug the wells? So I'm going to share with you. This is actually quite amazing, very fascinating. It's brought down here that these sheep. One second, let me get it right. Where are we? These 7 sheep were the only sheep that were able to drink from the well. Avram made a special, I don't know how he did it. He gave them as a present, and he said, these are going to testify that I'm the one who dug the well. And only these sheep began to drink, because the water would rise. And it would only rise when these 7 sheep came to the well. And when they wouldn't, then the water would go down. Okay. And this is a testify that the well belonged to Am Yisrael. Now what happened? This well was of Avimelech, was in a place called Yevus, which is outside Yerushalayim, Yevusi. And these sheep lived for a long time, for the generations of him, Livni, Lenini, Velenechdi, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And after they died, then they made an image, an iron image of these sheep, and they wrote on it, Yevus. And this was like for generations that was like there. And they were all scattered there until David the Melech came later on, and he took them off. But you see, it was like something mysterious about these 7 sheep. And very interesting, why Abraham took 7 sheep, and he called the place Be'er Sheva, and what's the connection between Sheva and Shua? But up to here is the end of the episode of Abraham Avinu. Now, we're going to start this week's Parasha, okay? Let's jump to Parashat Toldot. And history repeats itself, and it's like the same thing with Yitzchak. Yitzchak tries to dig wells. In Perek Chavav, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Okay, we're going to start from here. Vayigdal ha'ish. Can you see that? Vayigdal ha'ish v'yelech haloch v'gadel ad ki gadal me'od. Now what does that mean? Look how many gadals there are. Vayigdal v'gadel ki gadal me'od. He was big, he grew big, and he was very big. What was he big in? What does that mean? He put on weight? What does that mean? Well, Yitzchak put on weight. Go on.
Torah. No, it's a guess, Torah.
So I wouldn't say in Torah, but the explanation doesn't say that it wasn't Torah. What else can you be big in?
Popularity.
Popularity. Okay, what else? Gadol. Wow. Not in weight, not in Torah. What do you say, Meir? Excellent, in money. He was very, very rich. Very rich, until they equated him. Rashi says, how rich was he? Meir, do you have Rashi in front of you? Ki gadol me'od. Mao has Rashi. Go on, Mao. How rich was he? Compared to the king of Avimelech.
I need to look for it.
Okay, I'm going to read it out to you. They said that all his animals, the next line is, at those times, if you had animals, you were rich. Because animals, apart from meat, they also gave you milk, they gave you leather, they gave you wool. You could sell them, they make offspring. So he had a lot of cattle. A lot of servants and slaves. They were jealous of him. Avimelech, he was the king, and Rashi says that the manure of the animals of Yitzchak was more valuable than the gold and silver of Avimelech the king. Right, so that's a lot of animals, okay? How much is a bag of moist soil or to ferment? The manure, how much is it worth? And how much gold and silver did he have? But he said that's how rich he was. That's just like an indication. Then the pasuk says, all of the wells that Avraham dug, the Pelishtim, they satmum. What does that mean? They filled it up. That means like they cut off his business. They cut off his water supply. Now you have to remember those times. What was a well? A well was another source of
Money?
Of money. Now, how do you make money from that, Joe?
From a well.
Yeah.
You sell the water.
Exactly, you sell the water. If you dig and you find water, that's yours. It's like you find oil, you sell it. So you make a price. You know, those days, you know, either you go to the river, or you go to the lake, or you go to a well. So that's where you make a kupa, and you start selling water for drinking, for cleaning, for cooking. So the Pelishtim were jealous, and they just filled up with sand. And then Vayamar Avimelech Yitzchak, he said, just you gotta leave. You're too strong for us, you're too great for us, we can't be you, please leave. Now what would you expect Yitzchak to respond? You know, I'm here, my father was here, we made a peace treaty, We made a covenant, a brit. We made a swore. You've got 7 magical sheep that proves that I'm the well, and now you're telling me to leave?
Yeah, but if he learns from his father, if you look at the event with Lot, so obviously he learned from his father to move away from the dispute, right? So it's fair.
Yes. And that is exactly the next pasuk. Vayilech misham Yitzchak. And that's easy to read. But how can you do that in life? How easy is that in life? Imagine you're building a business with a partner for years, okay? And then you pass on the business to your son, okay? And you've got a contract and you've got 7 magical sheep. And then he says to your son, please leave. Yeah. And your son just walks out. And what happens to everything I built up? We spent years building it, the company. Yeah, no, I didn't want to make a machloket, so I left. What would you say to your son?
מי שמוותר מקבל יותר.
Yes, you say, I'm very proud of you, son. That's the right thing to do. And you're not going to lose out. Exactly. And that's exactly the line I said last year from Rav Steinman, מי שמוותר לא מפסיד. And I'm just going to repeat the 2 short stories, which I know personally, of 2 yeshivot, 2 different yeshivot in Yerushalayim. One yeshiva that was built by 2 rabbanim, they got together and then they split. And when they split, so one took the name and the money, and the other one had to open with a new name and a new bank account and try to start from scratch. And always that the one that left and was mevater, he was the one who was more matzliach. 20, 30 years later, you see his yeshiva's flourishing. It's full of talmidim, the donations, this nice new building, it's well kept. And you don't lose by that. Don't make it to machloket. Now that's one thing I want to study from here. Another thing is what does Yitzchak go and do now?
He's going to start up again?
He starts up again. Vayishav Yitzchak v'yachfor. Well, if you're on screen, you still with me on screen?
Yeah.
Vayishav Yitzchak v'yachfor et habe'erot mayim. He goes and redigs the wells. Asher chafu b'mei Avraham, aviv v'yisatmum pelishtim achrei mot Avraham. He goes and starts redigging the old wells, which they dug up. And then, vayikra lahem shemot, kashemot, asher kra lahen aviv. Can we have a translation of the highlighted pasuk? Any volunteer? Can we translate? ויקרא להן שמות כשמות אשר קרא להן אביו.
So he renamed them basically, or he named them in the same names.
Okay. Now, why is that relevant? I mean, we also have to ask, why is it all relevant? Who cares about these wells? You had business problems, you sorted it. But we have to study to learn for ourselves. But we're going to learn B'ezrat Hashem a deeper meaning. And what's the relevance of what the names were? And who cares why he called it after his father's names? ויקרא להן שמות כשמות אשר קרא להן אביו.
Because he did the same thing.
What's he did the same thing?
If
Yitzchak called the same names.
If
as
you
his
call
father.
but his father called the name for a particular reason. So if he called the same name, did he do the same thing again?
I don't know. The pasuk doesn't indicate that over here. Here we just see that he redug them. He did the things that his father did, and the Torah tells us he redid the names and he called them as his father called them. So the question is, why? What are we supposed to learn for that, and what's the relevance of that? And any suggestions, or I'll tell you, Rabbi Netanel.
So look, obviously, the wells are not wells, right? So they represent Torah or different books, and obviously הם סתמו את זה כי הם לא רצו, so there is a deeper explanation there with the wells.
But what was he supposed to learn from there? So you see,
I guess that,
go on, Gilad. Mo?
No, I'm sorry. I guess the pshat is that the names are kept because they are not new wells. He opened up an old well that Avraham dug, so it's not new one.
That's
so
okay. So what's respect for his father?
Well, it's not his.
You're
Like,
saying he just took it
the
from his father,
pshat
so he
is,
can't
yeah,
change the
like,
name.
Yeah, like Avraham dug it and they blocked it, and now we can reopen. So it's the same well. So you don't change the name of something. Just it's like, you know, it's
Even though you reopened it, you're saying like it's disrespectful to change the name because it's not really yours. That's what you're saying.
no. I'm just saying it's
not
still
it's the same well as
it's not
before.
yours. It's not yours.
Okay, I tell you, this is, and what do we learn from that? I tell you, Rabbi Netanel says something similar to that, Mo. He doesn't say it's not his, but he says it was just the Perishtim were jealous of him, so he carried on and he dug again. But he gave respect to his father. Notice the pasuk says Acharei Mot Avraham. Why are you saying after that Avraham died? He says a person should follow in the ways of his father. And that's what he did for respect for his father. And the Torah is telling us that the Kal V'chomer, that you see, a person should go the way of his fathers in the Darkei or the Avot, the way of the fathers in the Minhagim, in the Musarim, the way your father taught you how to do things. And this is, you see that Yitzchak went so far as he even called them the same names. And says Rabbeinu Bachai very interestingly, for this respect, Yitzchak didn't have his name changed. But that's Midah Keneged Midah. You could have changed his names. You mean there's no wells anymore. Once you cover up with Afar, then you close the well. There's no well, right? So it's the same place that it was before, but it's not the same well. It's now a new well. It's a new name, but nevertheless, he hears the same name. So Rabbeinu Bachai, maybe that's why he was the only one of the three fathers that didn't get a different name or changed name or added the name. And that's what Torah is telling us, that relevance, that he didn't change the names. Like the names that were called originally. Okay, we're going to continue. Parasha continues. And then they find new wells. So this is the first time there's a new well found. And now he calls it his own name. But look what happens, again action. There's a fight. Water belongs to us. It's our land, and the water source is from them. There was a whole fuss over it. And there's another bear, and there was another well, Sitna, or from Lashon of like Sin'ah. Like Lashon of Satan. Now, after these two fights, what would you expect Yitzchak to do next? He just gets up and moves on. That's it. We get up and move. Even if we settle, then we just refurbished, then we just painted. Vayatek Misham, he just got up and moved. And then look what happens. ויחפור באר אחרת, ולא רבו עליו וקשמה רחובות. כי אתה הרחיב השם לנו, ופרינו בארץ. It's we've grown. איך אומרים? הרחיב. We've broadened, expanded. Okay, and now here's the main episode of Be'er Sheva. Just to add in a side story over here. We see that Yitzchak doesn't give up. Even you find things hard, and sometimes, in life, you try one thing, it doesn't go. You try another thing, it doesn't go. In business, in learning, you try a Shiur Torah, it doesn't go. You try Daf Yomi. How many times you tried Daf Yomi, it doesn't work out. You tried the Mishia, it doesn't work out for you. But you keep trying again. And you see Yitzchak, for the third time, he keeps trying, and he's successful. And we have to appreciate, first of all, that a person can succeed if he continues to be diligent. If he knows it's the right thing what he's doing, If you're not sure what you're doing, then maybe it's a sign you shouldn't be doing it. But if you know and you're convinced it's the right thing to do, so you keep trying, and Hashem will help you. But there is a kindness also in the difficulty. And this is a fascinating story. If somebody remembers the Hurricane Sandy in America. So I just read this, I didn't read it in the news report, I read it in alone called Be'er Parasha of Elimelech Bidan. And he tells a story. He says that this Hurricane Sandy went through the New York City of Lakewood. And there was a small side road with 5 houses on each side, and they had a garden, a front garden, and a lawn. In the front garden, there were trees on both sides, each one. Now, what happened, which was very interesting, that the hurricane uprooted trees, buildings, cars, things. It was a hurricane. Yeah. But something was very fascinating on this road, because it was the same road, and some trees were uprooted, and some trees were not uprooted. And it wasn't like in any order. It wasn't like only the right side and not the left side. It was like achad ken, achad lo, just randomly. And they made a study, how come these trees, which seem to be the same age and size and same area, same strength of wind, and in one garden it's uprooted, in other garden it's not uprooted. And what did they find out? They found out that the trees, some of the lawns had sprinklers. And what would the sprinklers do?
Soften the ground.
Yeah. The sprinklers, they water the trees. Now, what would happen when they water the trees?
They soften the ground.
What do you mean?
So they moisten it, which makes.
So what they discovered, I'll tell you what they did. The ones which were watered daily, those were the ones were uprooted. But the ones which did not have sprinklers, they're the ones which stayed rooted. That was very interesting. How do I stop the sharing screen? Oh, here we go. Okay. That's better. Thank you, Joe. So, in fact, that they found that the ground wasn't softer anyway, because it just dabs the water on top. Inside all around the ground, it's hard, right? Why was the ones where it was watered were uprooted, and where it wasn't watered, they weren't uprooted?
Because,
I don't think it's interesting.
Wait, the ones that were watered uprooted?
Yes. The ones which didn't get watered.
Because it's softer. The earth
it wasn't softer because it's just a little bit of but just sprinkling water on top. It wasn't actually soft for the ground. The ground was still hard. It's the same area. It's exactly the same area. One side of the lawn, two trees next to each other.
It's because of the roots.
Yes, because of the roots. Can you explain, Mo?
Yeah, if you bring the water close to the tree, they don't send roots down the ground to look for water. And
Absolutely.
if you drought them sometimes every period, so they stretch the roots to look for water.
Absolutely. He said if you make it too easy for them, then they don't stretch their roots. They grow nicely, but they're not well rooted. Comes along Hurricane Sandy, pop, they go. But the ones which didn't have water readily available, they had to go find the water, had to stretch out. So they were very well rooted in the ground. Comes along Hurricane Sandy and they don't budge. Now, I'm not a news reporter. I'm not telling you how to water your garden. I'm teaching you Torah. And here is a tremendous lesson. He says, why does the Kodesh Baruch Hu make it difficult for some people? You see, when life goes hard and you overcome those hurdles, you're flexing the muscles that you're building yourself for future. Some people have an easy upbringing. Some people have it hard. But that doesn't make it determine your future. Maybe sometimes Hashem make it difficult in the beginning. Because you grew up, you experienced a lot of things. Afterwards, you're successful in life. And many people, and I know this for sure, that especially like the youngest in the family, they get spoiled, they get given everything, they get it easy, everything's good for you. Then they come up to the real world at the age of 20 and 30, and everyone's not so nice and friendly, and everyone's not giving them the easiest on a silver platter, and they find it very difficult to succeed.
Yeah, but you know that actually most doctors
Yeah.
are firstborn. Most doctors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Most doctors are firstborn, like GPs or firstborn, and most like in the top 1%, like 0.1%, like the richest are never firstborn. So it's interesting.
I don't know. So are you supporting my theory or the?
I don't know. I'm just giving you the facts.
Oh, the facts. Okay. So
Nice,
just
Gila.
saying now that sometimes it can be that a person, when they have it too easy in life and too easy in the beginning, from a spoiled, well-given family, and they find it very difficult afterwards. And people who find it hard, and you see they work hard, they go through, they make it very successful. They're trained. So one, I'm just seeing with this example of Yitzchak, of his be'erim. In the beginning it was hard, but he kept going, he kept harder, he kept working on it, and God helped him in the end. And the person needs to try. So I'm saying make it difficult for your kids, yeah. But if you find difficulty for yourself, and you see your kid struggling, maybe it's good for him to try and work out on his own. Don't always help him with his homework, I remember my parents, they wouldn't help me with my homework. Then your mom says, no, you need to do it yourself. That's the standard. Sorry?
What were your A-level results?
Baruch Hashem, it was good results. But I'm just saying, as a child, you have to work out for yourself. That's the standard. And if you make mistakes, okay, make mistakes, learn from mistakes, go to the teacher, learn. So that you can help, but don't do the homework for the child. Make them do it themselves. Teach them how to do it. So that was another side lesson to learn. But let's go back to our schedule program. All right, we were trying to work out here. I forgot even where I'm up to. Where am I up to in the shiur, in the parasha?
Rehovot.
Yeah, we're going up to. We just did Rehovot. Okay, we're going to go back to the sharing screen. How are we doing for time? 11:15. Okay. This is just the build-up for the shiur. Where's Rehovot? You can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, we're up to here. Vayal me'asham be'er shava. After Rehovot, he builds 2 wells. He has 2 fights. On the 3rd well, he hits Rehovot and he does well. No, unintended. He does well at the well. And then after the 3 wells, he goes to Be'er Shava, which is the same Be'er Shava from the time of Abraham Avinu. And at this point, Vayar elav Hashem belayla ahu. He comes to him and gets appearance from God. Vayomer Anochi Elokei Avraham Avicha. Do not fear. Al tira ki aitcha Anochi. We're going to read this on Shabbat. Ubrachticha. I'm going to bless you. Ve'arbeti et zaracha ba'avur Avraham Avdi. I'm going to bless you in the merit of your father Abraham. Okay, so he says thanks to God. Va'ivin sham mizbeach v'ikra Shem v'shem v'shem kul. So the name of God says thank you to God. V'ikru sham avdei Yitzchak be'er. Okay. Now suddenly Avimelech comes back on scene after he kicks him out of his land, and he seals up all his wells, and he has another fight with him. And Yitzchak is like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm gone. I don't know. Suddenly Avimelech makes a reappearance. Like, what do you want now? And he brings his best man. Why would you come for? You hated me. You sent me away. No, it's not like that. We saw God was with you. Between us, between you and our sons. Now, this is just a bit unusual. I'm just saying my own interpretation of it now. But I'm just trying to imagine the story. So, Avimelech, and originally he makes the Brit covenant with Abraham because he saw God's with Abraham. Then he thinks, okay, Abraham was good. I made a contract. Now we were, our country was good. Yitzchak was being blessed more than us, but he was taking away from our money. Now, instead of realizing that Yitzchak was giving him all the bracha and keep Yitzchak inside the Gerar, he kicks him out. He's much richer than Avimelech. Avimelech, obviously, I'm assuming maybe becomes poor then. He comes back and realizes, I made a mistake. Ra'o ra'inu. We saw, why ra'o ra'inu? Twice, you have to look twice, because sometimes you see something and you don't perceive it. You don't understand what you're seeing. Look at the sign. We see Hashem was with you. We want to make a peace again. Now, if I was Yitzchak, I said, listen, how can I trust you? You made a peace, you made a covenant, a berita contract with my father. You broke it, you kicked me out. Now I'm going to make another peace. You just leave me alone. You told me to leave, I left. Leave me alone. Now, he says, we only did good for you. We sent you home, we sent you away in peace. That means we didn't rob you, we didn't kill you, we didn't scratch you, we did the raktov. You see, like some people's idea of just good is if they don't do anything bad to you, that's just good. Baruch Hashem, now you are blessed, Baruch Hashem. So, instead of telling them to get lost, I don't trust you, I can't trust you, you've proven yourself. What does Yitzchak now do? They are coming for peace. What do you do?
You make peace.
Make peace. Look at this. That's exactly what Yitzchak does. But I want you, what does the word say? Vayas lahem mishteh. Mishteh v'yachlu v'yishtu. What did he do?
He ate with his wife.
Why is it, where's his wife? It doesn't say wife. No,
He ate and drank. Sorry.
He said they had dinner, they ate, they drank, they did a mangal, they did a party, they did a feast.
It's interesting because in Avram's case, actually, Avram mukhiach et Avshalom.
Avimelech, yes.
Avimelech, sorry.
Yeah.
Of course.
Now, what do you think about this? If you want to make peace, make peace. What's the whole thing about eating and making a party and mishteh? After that, he says, "Vayishkimu b'boker." Then they went in the morning. Vayishbu ishlachiv. They made their oaths, and then he sent them away in peace. But what's the eating and drinking about? Why'd you have to have a party?
When they say achiv, it cannot be that they refer to Yitzchak and Avimelech. They're not achim, right?
Where did say achi?
Vayishavu ishlachiv.
It means Yitzchak and Avimelech.
Interesting.
Yeah, why he calls him Ishlachiv?
Yeah, maybe it's Avimelech and Salt Vo.
Maybe it's Avimelech
and it's general.
Very interesting. Here's one interpretation from the Emek Davar. Ishal Achiv doesn't mean his brothers, it calls them between each other. But that's why I said it was only in the morning. Yeah. You see the screen? According to Ayelet HaShachar, Avimelech nikra achiv shel Yitzchak.
Okay.
Okay, so they were called brothers for this instance because they made peace. But I wanted to bring attention to what's the food idea? Can't you just make peace without food?
Food makes you happier.
Food makes you happy.
So you're more likely to go smoothly.
But do you see that even before they said before the pasuk where they did the oaths, he said, okay, you want to make peace, let's sit down and eat together. What do you think about that? Meir, where's Meir? Why the food? Mo, what do you think? Go on. Meir, you want to say something?
To a man's heart.
Yes. Food is the key to man's heart. Mo?
I've got two ideas. One, maybe to sit and do the brachot, like you do seudah.
Yeah.
So maybe to do brachot for the seudah.
Nice.
Second, you do party, then everyone knows there is a party. Everyone is aware of the contract. But if you do it just me and you in the room or like somewhere.
You're saying it's like for publicity?
Yeah.
Very nice idea. Oh, that's good. I was thinking more like Meir was saying. That, you know, you want to make peace properly, you can just shake hands and walk away and like you don't feel good, but you're not going to sit down and eat with somebody unless you're really happy with them. And just the fact of sitting and eating, that makes friends. You know, how do we make friends with people? You invite them for lunch, you go out to eat, you know, food is the way to a man's heart, give them good food, but that's how you show it. And I think especially if you want to make peace with old friends, you know, we'll go out for a drink, or if you had something rusty, we do mishloach manot, yeah, we send them food. But to eat together, I think it's also special, yeah? You know, with maybe talk about man and his wife. Smooth things over. Yeah, go out for dinner. When was the last time you went out for dinner with your wife, went out for breakfast? Tonight is Rosh Chodesh. So just a reminder for Rosh Chodesh tomorrow, 3 reasons to go out with your wife for Rosh Chodesh. Can anyone remember? What was the 3 reasons? One of them?
One cause it's Rosh Chodesh.
Rosh Chodesh, and it's mitzvah larbot besouda, which means mitzvah to eat more on Rosh Chodesh. That's one. Go on. What else? 2 more reasons.
Shabbat?
No.
Well, enter.
What's the reason to go out with your wife? You just go out on your own, or you can eat at home. Why do you have to go out? To please them. There's a mitzvah to please your wife on Rosh Chodesh. Did you know that?
Yeah, you told us.
Oh, so that's mitzvah to please your wife on Rosh Chodesh. So easy way to please her, go out for dinner or go out for breakfast, or go out for lunch. Tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh as well. What was the 3rd reason? Why don't you just eat at home? Why have to go out for a restaurant?
Because it doesn't include the expenses.
Exactly, expenses. Now let me just remind you again. הוצאות תשרי. הוצאות של אדם מוקצבים לו מראש השנה בראש השנה. says the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Beitzah, Daf, I think Tedvav, if I'm not mistaken. Apart from Hotzot of Shabbat, Yom Tov, and Rosh Chodesh, and Talmud Torah, which means it's not in the entire package. Not only that, the Gemara says, Kola Mosif, Mosifin lo, Kola Pochet, Pochatin lo. Means you can stay at home and have a nice breakfast. But if you mosif, if you add and you go spend more l'chvod Shabbat, spend more l'chvod Chodesh, then you get added more onto your account, even more than what you deserve. B'kol ha'pochet, pochatin lo, which means don't go cheap now on Shabbat or on Yom Tov or Rosh Chodesh. Go buy, go spend. Maybe while I'm on this topic, I'll just add another disclaimer. How much can you spend for Shabbat? I know there's no end to how much you can spend. You can really spend. Yeah, maybe you can do Shabbat, you know, for £100 or £200, and you can do Shabbat for £1,000, and maybe you can spend £5,000 on Shabbat. So you know, where do you draw the line?
Is there no limit? No limit?
What do you think? Just we're going off the topic here.
I think that there is no limit, but I'm guessing there's a certain figure that gives you multiple reward.
Yeah, if you're spending l'chvod Shabbat, you get it paid back. But I'm saying somebody who's earning £1,000 a month, can you spend £1,000 on Shabbat? Where's the money coming from? You know, he's inviting all guests and you know, to 30 people at the Sudan and all different meats. What do you think about that? And then he's in debt. And he says, Hashem, pay me back. I spend on Shabbat.
I think it's like tzedakah, where you can, where God says you can, kind of something like God says you can test me on that. So,
but Chanuni Bazot, very interesting. Yeah, you were saying that, Joe. But Chanuni Bazot is only referring to one thing. You can test me only regarding Maaseh. Here, though, it does depend on Emunah. You have to have your Emunah that you're spending on Shabbat.
The Shabbat, we know that on the one hand, it's one can borrow and Hashem will pay back. That's one. Well, but on the other hand, as I recall, you can reduce one seudah and not izdakek l'charim. I don't remember the exact pasuk.
Yeah, okay. That's the Halcha Resh Mem Bet Shulchan Aruch says. Yeah, Amar Rabbi Akiva, that's how he says. If you want, somebody is very poor, he's allowed to take money from the kuppah. He said he can do less for, but even that person, he has to add on l'chvod Shabbat. You're right. Okay. So what you asking a question, Gilad? That's
I know two conflicting opinions, so I'm not sure.
Say it again. Okay, I didn't want to get into it. You're right. The Mishnah Berurah talks about it. Reish Mem Bet. on the Shulchan Aruch, Shulchan Aruch brings it as well. He brings down both things. But even somebody who needs, let's say, to go to the charity, from the Kupat to Tzedakah, he doesn't want to take for his own sake. Is he allowed not to take? So on one side, he is allowed, but he has to have on Shabbat. And the Shulchan Aruch says you have to eat less during the week so that you have a little bit more on Shabbat. So if you only have like one piece of bread every day, so maybe 2 days only have half a piece of bread and have something extra for Shabbat. And don't take from tzedakah. But halachically, you're allowed to take from tzedakah and take 3 seudot with fish and extras. That's a side topic. But what we want to discuss is what's levu alai v'ani poreh. Where is the limit to spending on Shabbat? Or how do you quantify how much you can spend on Shabbat? Especially the Gemara says mosifin lo. So I once understood it, and it's a very ideas. I think it's a very true idea. This is a way to understand it. The Gemara says Hashem wants you to have Shabbat is a special day. That is a day of the king. That's the day for me. But everyone is on his own level. Everyone has their own level of how they eat. People have different level of how they live, how they dress, how their house looks like. Okay, people on a different level of financial level. But when it comes to food, so when you want to give yourself a pinuk, how do you say pinuk in English?
Treat.
You want to give yourself a treat, thank you. Okay. What do you treat yourself in food? So said that treat is what you should keep for Shabbat. And the same thing for children as well. We tell you treats for Shabbat. And adults. And so, for some people, okay, so having fish, that's their treat. Some people for, fish, that's weekday. But if it's my birthday, I want to have meat. I want to have a duck. I don't know. I want to have caviar. I want to have a fancy food. So everyone got on their own level. So your level, that's what you should keep for Shabbat. Don't go cheap on me on Shabbat. If it's now your special anniversary, what are you going to do? Yeah, that's how much you want to spend for Shabbat. So the same thing, it's Rosh Chodesh. Go as if it's your birthday. Go as if it's for a special time that you want to celebrate. You want to have your own self, give yourself a pinuk. That's what you want to do on Shabbat, on Yom Tov. Also included in that is Talmud Torah. There's some things, Baruch Hashem, Torah is free, yeah, and we give the shiur here for free. But if somebody wants to learn a private lesson, or sometimes books cost money, sometimes shiurim sometimes cost money, anything which is involved learning Torah, even for yourself or for your child. But there was also kol ha'pochet pochetino, kol ha'mosif mosifino. Don't go cheap on learning Torah. If it's learning books or studying or private lesson, yeah, pay for it. That's not included. Okay, that was a side point. Let's go back to Sheva. Okay. So they ate and they drank. That's what we're up to. Okay. They ate and they drank, and they made peace, and that's what we're going to eat and drink on Shabbat and on Rosh Chodesh. And with your wife, going to make your wife happy on Rosh Chodesh. V'yishkimu b'boker. Can you see the screen? They get up in the morning. V'yi b'yom hahu v'yavdu avdei Yitzchak v'yigidu lo odot ha'be'er. They find another well, asher chafru. We found water. Now it's very important to notice over here. Look what happens. They left. They've gone. And then, in the morning, nothing to do with Avimelech, the servants of Yitzchak come back. Now look at this line. This is the main part of the share now. Until today, the name of the city is called Be'er Sheva. Now, where were they? Look at this a few psukim earlier. Where were they? V'yal misham Be'er. Can you see the bold part?
Be'er Sheva.
Be'er Shava.
Shava.
They were in Be'er Shava. They have a whole episode with the servants of Avimelech. They come back, they want to make peace, they have eaten, they drink. Then it was Rosh Chodesh, Be'er Sheva, and then he calls it, and then they dig a well in the same place, and they call the city Be'er Sheva ad hayom hazeh. Now, list of questions, okay? Why is it changing? If Avraham called it Be'er Sheva, why are you changing the name? Now, when Avraham called it Be'er Sheva, because of the oath and now you're calling it Be'er Sheva. Where's 7 of it? There's nothing 7 of it. Would they eat 7 of it? Where's number 7 involved? Just keep it. And also, you said that you didn't change the name of your father's name. That was the whole thing about Yitzchak. They doesn't change the names. And by Abraham, it doesn't say Vayikra Shemo Be'er Sheva ad hayom hazeh. And here he says Vayikra Shem ha'ir Be'er Sheva ad hayom hazeh. Why are you saying that? Is anybody with me?
Yeah.
You know, they had the feast, and when you have a feast, you are savea.
Nice.
Also like Sheva.
Very nice.
So maybe, maybe it's also.
But look, here's the next. You're right. I didn't notice that, Mo. But it's the next day. It says v'yachlu v'yishtu v'yisvau. You're right. It says v'yisvau. No, so it doesn't say v'yisvau. It says v'yishavu, and they swore. And then the v'yalchu me'itam l'shalom. They went, and only the next day they found another well, and then they called it Be'er Sheva. So 3 questions. Why are you changing it to Be'er Sheva now from Be'er Sheva? Abraham called it Be'er Sheva, and why are you changing the name? And why by Abraham it doesn't say Ad hayom hazeh, now it says Ad hayom hazeh? Okay. So the Meshech Chochmah, I'm going to give you 2 explanations, according to Pshat and one according to Sod. Pnimiyot Torah. Are you ready? We're going to learn on the simple level of Pshat. It says the Meshech Chochmah. Meshech Chochmah was Or Sameach. He says the following explanation. When they made a priest treatment with Abraham, who broke it? Avimelech broke it, right? So then they didn't have to keep the contract anymore. After Yitzchak was sent away, so he breached the contract. So the whole Shvuah was batel. They didn't have to keep it anymore. And Abraham's original Shvuah was gone. So if Abraham's original Shvuah was gone, I'm not going to call it Be'er Sheva. Now, the next time when they made to do peace, Shalom, and they made the Shvuah again, so now again the Shvuah comes back, and they call it again the Makom Be'er Sheva ad hayom hazeh. Which means, what the Meshech Chochmah is saying is that they recalled the name because the contract was broken, and now he's been doing a recontract again. Now he pays attention to the close. You have to see this in share screening. 1 second. Look at the name of the pasuk. Can you see what does it say? Vayikra Hashem ha'ir Be'er Sheva. What was called Be'er Sheva? Shem ha'ir. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It means the city was called Be'er Sheva. But by Abraham, it doesn't say Ir. What does it say by Abraham? It says, Al Ken Kira HaMakom Be'er Sheva. Which means to say that the place was called Be'er Sheva, but when they made the city, they called the city Be'er Sheva. So that's one explanation called the Meshech Chochmah. Well, there's a beautiful explanation from the Seforno, and this is where we're going to go a little bit deeper. Okay? It says the Seforno, it was called Sheva because it was the 7th well that was dug up. He said Abraham dug 3 wells, and then consecutively after that, Yitzchak, they got all sealed over. Yitzchak opened 2 wells. One was called, I can't remember, Meriva. One was called Rehovot. The third one was called Rehovot. Sitna, Esek. Right? Because of the Esek, there's 2 wells. Then the third well was called Rehovot. Right? You remember the third one was called Rehovot. And then the 4th one was called Be'er Sheva. So how many do we have? 3 of Abraham, and then from Yitzchak another 3, and the 4th one was Be'er Sheva. How many is that totaling? Go on, here's the maths.
Sheva.
7, exactly, Sheva. So says the Seforno, he says there was 3 and 3, Esek, Sitna, and Rehovot, and the 7th one was Be'er Sheva. So you know why he called it Be'er Sheva? Because of the 7th well. That's why he called it on the number 7th well. And in Abraham it was called Be'er Shava, because there was an oath. But after the oath was broken and they redug the wells, now this well became the 7th well. So he called it Be'er Sheva. It wasn't only the Be'er Shava on the Shvuah, it was Be'er Sheva. So, okay, so now we've answered one question, but we're now going to open another 3 or 4 questions. Because now we understand. Avraham made the Shvuah, so he called it Be'er Shava. Then there was a whole argument about the wells. Yitzchak manages to dig a 7th well, and he says, this is now the 7th well, I'm calling it Be'er Sheva. Okay, so number 1, who cares? Yeah, who cares? Who cares the 7th well? If it's a 7th well or a 6th well, you know, what's important about the number 7? And none of the other wells were called well number 1, number 2, you know, Be'er Shesh. Is there Be'er Shesh? Yeah, you have Kvish Shesh, right? But you don't have Be'er Shesh. You got Kvish Echad. You don't have the wells calling them by names. So by numbers. So why now this is the 7th well, you call it now Be'er Shava? And also, you said that you're not going to change the names of your father's wells. So why are you changing now this name? I had a good name before. And Avraham had a reason for calling it Be'er Shava, because there was a Shvuah over here. But Yitzchak doesn't have, there's no episode, nothing happened that you called it Sheva, just this happened to be the 7th one. So what's the significance for the 7th one? And what are we supposed to learn from this? You with me on the questions?
Yeah. There's a significance in 7 throughout Judaism.
Yes. Go on, Joe.
Sheva Brachot.
Yes.
7 days of Pesach.
Yes.
Except for outside as well. Oh no.
7 days of the week. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
there's a lot of 7s.
And Sheva Sfirot.
Oh, now you're getting that, Gilad. 7 Sfirot. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit into Kabbalah now. He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu ohev shviot. God loves the 7th. Okay, but let's start on a simple level. Okay?
יש לנו 7 רועים?
Yes, 7 רועים, 7 אושפיזים. This is where we're going. This is based on the Tivot Shalom. He says that Olam HaTikun, and Tikun means
correct.
To correct or to rectify. Okay? That's what we're talking about, Tikun. Okay? And we all come here to do our Tikun, all our neshamot. Okay? On one level. Think about it. We come here as a tinok, is it a baby? We live to do our Tikun, and then there's a nituk, when the neshama leaves the body. That's tinok, tikun, and nituk. All has the same letters. The Shiva Ro'im was started by Avraham Avinu. He started on Amud HaChesed, the sphere of Chesed. Okay, now we're going a little bit deeper. Try and stay with me for 2 minutes. We're going to wrap this up nicely, okay? Avraham Avinu, he started off these wells. Now, why is he digging the wells? What's the digging wells about? Now, why are you digging wells? Avraham, go learn Torah, go teach Torah. Why are you digging wells? Wells is a money-making machine. It's a business. You're rich enough as it is. Avraham was doing a tikkun. Avraham was not interested in making money. You know why he opened up the Be'erot?
What's the Be'erot?
Be'erot is the water, the wells. Be'er. Be'erot. To give people water to drink. Because Avraham was Amud HaChesed.
Chesed.
Exactly. Avraham is Chesed. That's why he opened up his tent in 4 directions. See, when people need water, I'm going to dig wells. I can afford to dig it. Everyone wants to come have wells. That's why everyone's so jealous of him. He said, listen, you're taking away business. Think about it. I'm trying to sell water in my well, and you're offering free water. Who's going to come to my well? You're offering free water. You're taking away my business. That's why they got so jealous. You know, why do you care if somebody has a well? Let them have as well. Avraham was not only doing a tikkun, but he was also fighting against the impure forces of the Sitra Achra. So it was a fight against the Satan. That's Avraham was the first of the Sheva Ro'im. After comes Avraham, comes Yitzchak. And Yitzchak was the Gvorot. Okay? And Avraham dug 3 wells, and Yitzchak dug 3 wells. So I don't remember the source, but one of the things they said, what was the point of these wells? Wells was a place of meeting, mifgash, right? Like, you want to meet someone, have a meeting. Where do you meet? You meet in the hotel, in a lobby, location. Now, where's the location? Public place. You meet by the well. The shidduchim was made by the well, right? Moshe met Zipporah by the well, Yaakov met Rachel by the well. By the well, that's where you meet. So, what they used to do there, Avraham and Yitzhak, they used to do chizuk, to mechazer b'tshuva, like Chabad. They open up a place of, tefillin by the well, by the canyon, in the airport. You see Chabad there, they're teaching Torah, that's what they did by the well. So these wells were fighting against the Tumah. The wells were a place of Kedusha. And the Zohar talks about all the barachot that comes from the wells. Water represents Chaim, life. Water is life. Torah is compared to Mayim, because Torah is life. So all of these digging of the wells represents the milchama against the kochot HaTumah. Now it makes sense, the significance of the 6 wells which come before the 7th well. 7th well representing the 7th day of the week, which is Makor HaBaracha. That's Shabbat. Why do we have to la'aneg et Shabbat? We have to, spend all the Pinukim goes on to be on Shabbat. Why? Because Shabbat gives a bracha for all the other 7. Why does it say Adda Yom Hazeh? Only by the 7th well it says this is the name of the Yom Hazeh, because the 7th day gives the bracha to all the other 6. It's only after the 7th well that had a kiyum everlasting. That means I was always fighting against the Sitra Achra until the 7th day, 7th well. So the Shvuah that Avraham made, the oath, that was only temporary. It didn't have a kiyum, didn't have a fixed existence. But the 7th well, which represents Shabbat, gives the bracha to all the other 7 days of the week. That is what everlasting. And if you're working for 6 days, when you don't work on 7, you're closing the shop. It's not like, okay, you're losing money. No. You're gaining money. That 7th day gives you the bracha for all the other 6 days. There's no point in working for 6 days if you're working on Shabbat, because you're losing everything for the 6 days. It's like you just cancel everything you've done. To give the bracha in the 6 days, you have to have the 7th. And he says that's why Hashem loves the 7th. The 7th is the Malchut. The 7th is the Malkata. And the 7th does not have koach of the Sitra Achra. Does not have koach of the Shabbat. When you're keeping Shabbat, you can't catch it. You can't losing in business. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper. All of the Be'orot HaMayim, there was machloket in them, apart from the 6th one. And straight after the 6th one, there's a 7th one open. Rechovot. Why was there no machloket on Rechovot? And here we're going to go get deeper onto the side of the Kabbalah. But if we just quickly explain the Sfirot. The Sfirot go in the form of man, the lower part. There is 10 Sfirot, but we mainly talk about the 7th Sfirot of the Tikkun. So you've got Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferet, okay? And then you got Netzach, Chod, Yesod. Yesod is the 6th one. What's Yesod? That is the Yesod of the Brit Kodesh. Tzaddik Yesod Olam. Which is, what is the Yesod? Who is called Tzaddik in the Torah? Yosef. Why was he called Tzaddik?
Shmirat HaBrit.
Shmirat HaBrit, exactly, against Potiphar's wife. That is called Yosef. Yosef is a tremendous power of Yesod. Now, if in order for a person to master his Yesod, he said this Yesod is the end of the body, right? Think about it. If your body basically ends where the Brit is, the Yesod, right? If you know, your legs just come out from your body, but the bottom part of the body is the Brit. When the end of your body, to be mitaken, you have to completely leave your body. That means leave all the desires from the body. Okay, now we're going a little bit deeper here, but just try and understand this one point. If somebody overcomes his how do you say, controls the koach of the spirit of Yesod, he has all koach against the Sitra Achra, which means no forces of Tumah can come against him. And that is why somebody is a Shmirat HaEinayim, okay, for the eyes, is like, it's basically a window into your neshama. Shmirat HaEinayim, somebody looks after, sees what he should see, what it doesn't look what he doesn't see. That is the biggest bracha, and the person does not have no forces of Tumah can come against the Yesod. That's why Yosef was Ish Matzliach. He's the only person in the Torah who was called Ish Matzliach. Why? Because he overcome his Yesod. Everything he touched turned into gold. He became higher than Paro himself. And I heard this from Rabbi Chaim HaKohen, the Chalban. He says that if somebody wants the biggest bracha for Parnasah, is a Shmirat Einayim. That is the best reason to do Shmirat Einayim is for Parnasah. You don't understand how much you can gain from that. Because Setracha can't touch you. That's the biggest bracha. And also, Zikaron, to remember the Torah. Shmirat Einayim is against the Shmirah of an eye because no one can touch it. That's Yosef Ish Matzliach. So he said, Memela, after the 6th of the Yesod, there was no machloket between the other Avimelech. Rechovot, there's peace, quite because that represents the 6th Sphira, which is Yosef, which is the Yosef HaTzadik. And after Yosef, straight away comes the Malchut. That is number 7. And that is why in the 7th Ro'im, who's number 6? Avraham is 1, Yitzhak is 2, Yaakov is 3. Who's number 6? Is Yosef. Yosef, that represents the 6th Sphira of the Yesod. And it's unusual, it's not chronological order. It's according to the Sphirot of Yesod. And that's why after Mashiach ben Yosef, straight away comes Mashiach ben David. Because the Malchut, Shabbat came straight after Yom Shishi. Yom HaShishi v'chol hashemaim ba'aretz, we start off the Kiddush, but straight away comes Shabbat. It's already, Shabbat already comes in the beginning of the 6th. Okay. Just the last, okay, I didn't realize we've gone very late. We'll stop here this year. Maybe I just understood one thing. So we just summarized what was the point about the 7th one. Oh, so why they call it Be'er Shava? So I explained that was the 7th one, and the 7th one was the Kiyum, and that was the whole thing what Avraham started. Avraham started the fight against the power of Tumah. And it's only after the 7th one that we have complete control, the 6th and the 7th, and that's why Yitzhak was so happy. He called that the name Be'er Sheva, of the number 7. Now, I had a question about, he said he didn't change the names. And here you're changing the name. So, first answer, he's not really changing the name. He's just changing the vowels because it's the same letters, okay? And the pasuk says, "V'karlen shemot kashemot asher karlen," like the name. So it's a bit similar. That's one answer. But one answer we saw is one was the city here and one was the makom. But the most beautiful answer I saw was that even Avraham Avinu himself, why did he call it Be'er Sheva? Do you remember in the original treaty, how many sheep did he make in the original Brit with Avimelech, Avraham Avinu? How many sheep? Come on, who remembers the beginning of this year?
No, Sheva.
7. There were 7 sheep. So he called it in the beginning Be'er Sheva for 2 reasons. One because of the Shavua and one because of the 7 sheep. So now when Yitzchak calls it again Be'er Sheva because it was the 7th well, it's just renaming like the original name of Avraham Avinu. And now we're going to make the connection between 7, Shavua, and Sheva, and Shavua. Says the Midrash Secher Tov. You know why it's called Sheva and Shavua? When a person makes an oath, Mashbi Adam et Chavero, he uses the lotion of Sheva, Shavua. Why? The Shavua he nishbat Adam ba'atzmo befiv. Why is it called the Shavua? Because the 7th commandment, which God commanded Adam Arishon, the 7th one was the Shavua. And that's what he says. What were the 6? First 6 was, what was the first mitzvah in the Torah? Puru Urvu. I'm doing this quickly. Barishona Puru Urvu. Shniya, Kvishat Yerdot B'chol HaBriyot. Number 3, Le'chol Kol Esev, to eat from the garden. Number 4, to work the She'avod Bagan. Chamishi, Shishmerena, to keep the Gan Eden. B'shishit, the 6th commandment was to eat from all the trees. The 7th one, he promised him, Shelo Hishbi'o, Shelo Lechol Me'et Hadat. Shvuat Hashem. Hashem made him swear you're not going to eat from the etadat. So because the 7th commandment was the shvuah not to eat, that's why when we make an oath, shvuah, we use the number 7. So really the shvuah and sheva is connected. The oath and the sheva and the shvuah. So Be'er Shava is really the same name as Be'er Be'er Sheva is the same name as Be'er Shava of swearing. Okay, so let's remember the lesson that we learned, to go in the way of our father, to respect the father, like Yitzchak respected Abraham. Let's remember we all have a tikkun to do over here, like Abraham and Yitzchak. The greatest tikkun is the tikkun of the Yesod, which brings us to Shabbat. It's the Malchut, respect the day of the Shabbat. Hotzaot Shabbat is not included, so to Yom Tov Rosh Chodesh and Limud Torah. And let's remember the connection between Sheva and Shavuot. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. I wish you all a Chodesh Tov and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Enjoy your meal tomorrow. You have extra food. And maybe we'll just do 2 halachot because it's already getting, everyone's invited back for halacha.
Is it 2 days or 1 day? Rosh Chodesh?
1 day Rosh Chodesh, yeah. No Rosh Chodesh on Shabbat. Today is Aleph. So if it's too late tonight, go out tomorrow, eat breakfast or lunch. Okay, Chazak Baruch. May, do you want to do recording for the shiur?